angels on the line. The angels on the line. The angels, the angels, the angels on the line.
Good people, good people. Good people, good people. Good people, good people. Good people, good people.
Woo-wee! Good people, good people. What's going on, y'all? This Angel with the Angels Online, and we are here. Season 3, episode, let me say, I think this is what, 8?
Yeah.
8?
Yeah.
Okay. Loving outside of the box, baby. And why we call it loving outside the box? Because we're talking about interracial. In June 1967, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in the favor of Virginia married couple Richard and Mildred Loving. It ended all race-based legal restrictions on marriage, which violated the 14th Amendment, which is why this episode is entitled Loving Outside the Box, okay? A youth, of course, who is biracial, requested this episode to hear about how people deal with it, how they roll with it, the relationships, whether you're a biracial child, that means your parents were an interracial couple, or interracial couples right now, and how they deal with their marriage or their relationship. So we're going to talk about who we got right now with us. We got here at the table to my right. What's your name? Talk to me and how you relate to this topic.
Name's Nick. Dad's black. Mom's white. I'm also Sean's father.
You know what?
My father. What's up?
We might as well hit.
I haven't seen him in years.
So we got your name. What's your name, sir? On the line. Tell us what your name is. Sir, we talking about you, sir. We got your name. But we
Okay,
need
all right.
Chino.
I was going, ladies first, but I'll go. Yeah. So my name's Sean. My dad was black. My mom was white. I'm also so I'm mixed, and I'm also married to a beautiful lady that hails from the Caucasus Mountains, if you will.
Boy. All right. Who else we got on the line?
And that's my father in the studio.
We gonna have a good time with the Angels Online. I'll tell you that much. Daddy. Who we got? Who else we got on the line? We got Katie. Katie, go ahead.
Hi, yes, I am Katie Platt, and I am in an interracial relationship. My significant other is black.
Wonderful. Katie Platt. She is in an interracial relationship, and her significant other is black. Okay, African American. However you want to put it, understand it. And then on our Zoom, who we got on our Zoom?
You got Sierra.
All right.
I am black, and
That's clear. We see you on Zoom.
my husband is white, and I have a biracial daughter.
All right, husband's white. You have a biracial daughter. Wonderful. That's what I'm talking about. So we see right now what we looking at, what we got, who we got on the episode, how they relate. I'm Angel, of course, your host. This is Kaylee sitting across from me out here. She might chime in and ask some questions. This helps with what she does actually as a professional. So we actually gonna get right into it. I'm gonna ask you guys because you're dating. Would it be easier to date someone within your own race, Sierra?
I think it just kind of is based off of what you define as easy. Dating him was probably like the least stressful relationship I had ever been in.
Okay.
And I don't really think that actually had anything to do with his race or my race. I think it was just at the point that we were both at in our life. It's not without its hardships, obviously, but on a certain level, I think that at the time that we both started dating each other, I don't really think the race card played an issue as far as like difficulties within the relationship.
Can we get somebody to chime in on that? What do you think? Katie, let's get that from Katie. Katie, what about you?
So I can't particularly say I think it would be easier to date someone who's white, but I can definitely say that having a biracial relationship,
Hold on, Katie, your phone is going in and out.
Hold on.
All right, no problem.
Are you there?
There we go. Oh, that's perfect. Go ahead. Tell us right now. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So I don't actually think that dating in my own race could have made it easier or less problematic. I do agree with what was said earlier, but I can say there are different challenges and barriers. For example, my significant other's from East St. Louis, and the way that he grew up was significantly different than the way that I grew up. But I don't think that specifically always has to do with race. You know, you can have just different upbringings, in different cultures for just even different areas of the United States and still be the same race. So it's kind of true. It's what you're willing to work through and in what stage of your life that, and how understanding you are and accepting of the differences in between you each.
Okay, Sean, you're biracial, but you're married to a white woman, so you got two sides to you, okay? So, what do you think about that, Sean?
Hey, well, I mean, me personally, I don't think that I really don't. I mean, I don't think race. I haven't really experienced hardly anything in terms of just my interracial relationship. I mean, I've dated plenty, and I think it just has to do with the experiences you're going through as you grow up in the home, and then obviously like what you experience firsthand and in the cultures that you surround yourself with or grow up in, because ultimately that's going to shape like who you are and how you see the world or whatever. So me personally, I haven't experienced a lot of, people looking at me side eye or whatever. I mean, I think we're just in a different time now. People are more to themselves about that type of stuff. I mean, I will say, like, whenever we got engaged, there was someone that my wife knew that, like, she hadn't really talked to this guy, but he had messaged her. He felt the need to message her, and while he was congratulating her, he felt the need to say that that he felt that she should date within her own kind. So there's still that type of stuff. People just view the world differently. So I've seen some of that here and there, but like for the most part, I don't know if race has really kind of played a big role in how we're treated or how we progress through life. It's more. I mean, the battle is more, and I say battle, but it's more about just her experiences, my experiences coming together as one, and like learning each other's mannerisms and things that she's okay with, I'm okay with, or that she has issues with, or whatever, and kind of growing through that as the relationship goes on, versus like, hey, because you white, you're doing this or whatever. Like, we just don't look at the world through those lenses, so it's hard to really talk to it outside of maybe here and there where I've actually experienced things that are race driven. So
I love those responses. Look at you. Sean do know something. We thought he was slow, y'all, but we were going to allow we allowed him the opportunity.
Look, I'm gonna let you know. Y'all thinking outside the box. I mean, what about all the people in the triangles and the circles? What about that?
You know what? We gonna Nick.
I'm looking for a sound effect, but I ain't got it.
I don't know. I ain't got one.
I want the wah wah wah.
See if I can. Do that for Sean.
Stay in that triangle, brother.
Nick, what about you? You've dated. Has it been? Talk to me. Because you're biracial as well, like Sean.
I need like what's the direct question?
Is it easier? Like, would it be easier to date someone because you ain't got no race because you biracial?
Well, all right.
So you know
so
how has
hold
it
on.
been dating white or black? You know.
I lived in New York for 9 years.
Come on, talk to us.
In New York, if you were to see me walking down the street, you're probably gonna assume I'm Dominican or Puerto Rican.
Yes.
And in New York, I mostly dated Spanish women.
Boom.
So I don't know. It's not easier to date either race. It's just
Who you interested in?
It's
Huh?
whoever's interested in you, whoever you're interested in. Like, I'm looking this way, talking to the mic. Yeah, it's just. It's not easier. It's just like when you're talking about relationships, you're talking about feelings and like
Right.
there isn't like black people feelings or white people feelings.
Right.
It's
Come
just-
on. That's what we talk about on Angels
Yeah.
Online. That's right.
Yeah.
People just have emotions. That's what it's about. Life circumstances. It I've dated a white guy, and you know, hell, it was normal. I didn't look at no color. I know for a fact I was in a club and we were just dancing because he had rhythm, and you know what? It was in Orlando, Florida, and this white guy
He wasn't two-stepping you?
Hey, nah, he was two-stepping. He was jamming. he had, and you know what? It was like a country club, but they was playing hip hop music, and the guy I was dating, he had rhythm, like, you know what I'm saying. He was white, but he looked Puerto Rican, right? This is Florida now, Orlando. But we were in, I forgot the name of the club that we were in, but this white guy, we were dancing together, and this white guy tapped him and was like, "Hey, you stop that around here." He turned around, I was like, "What?" I said, "Man, don't even worry about it." But that, like Sean said, when someone sent his fiance at the time, a message and said, I feel like you should date within your own kind. Like this guy, he felt some type of way because we're dancing. But you can sense that the way he was looking at it or whatever. So that's unfortunate. Nick, you had something else to chime in and say?
I will say that I've had a couple of instances where I've been in a relationship with a white woman, and there are a couple of things like privilege is probably the biggest issue that is going to come up in anything when you're dealing with like relationships and race, whether it's a white guy or any person. And there are things that I am very, very like I try to be aware of my privilege because I don't look quote unquote black.
Right.
So I try to keep my privilege in check as much as I can. And there's a lot of people I've dated a couple girls where just like the privilege is just not like you're not aware of like what you can just do because you're white.
Yeah.
And one of those I'm very conscious of that. So that has been an issue before.
Wow. Thank you everybody for sharing those. Do you believe most families reject or accept interracial couples? And you can talk about your own personal experience because that's what we talk about on Angels Online. And we'll go with anybody. Like Sean, what about like your family? You know, the few people you have in your family. How were they with your relationship? Did your mom have any issues with it or?
No, I mean, like my family and her family, I mean, for the most part, you know, everyone, you know, her family, they grew up around a whole bunch of different ethnicities. There was a Hispanic community that was heavy when they were living in Cimarron. So a lot of their kind of upbringing was very culture exposing, that, you know, where it wasn't just all white people. Now we live in an area where it's predominantly white, you know, but you know, through her upbringing, you know, they've been around a bunch of different people, so they've been exposed to like the different cultures and how people act and the different kind of qualities that, you know, different ethnicities kind of bring to the table. So from my wife's perspective, I mean, she loves everybody.
Right.
And her mom and her family were very open to me, and I think it's just because they're not looking at, that's not something that's top of mind for for them.
Wonderful.
Because they just grew up with kind of just being open to everything. And then my family, I mean, I mean, we're we pretty much get along with everybody. Like I try to, everybody has their own experience and their own things that they bring to the table, and that's the beauty of just having a whole bunch of different people from different cultures and ethnicities and stuff. I mean, because everyone has a unique perspective, and it's good to see that and absorb that as you go through life. But I mean, everything was open, everyone was accepting, and it's just, no one looked at it that way, and it was just like, is this a good guy? Is this a good girl? Is he treating you right? How do you like her? It's more like feeling based, and does she mesh with me and whatnot? And just, how it is. You get in a relationship, you start meeting the family members, and for them, you start building relationships that way, and as long as everyone has an open mind,
good.
It's just about growing those relationships along the way. So I mean, I didn't really experience anything that was like, oh no, Sean. I mean, because I'm mixed, right? So, and I know y'all can't see me, but like kind of to Nick's point, I can't tell you. I mean, I've been invited to a Hispanic club, and people thought I was Middle Eastern, and then I'm Italian, and so I'm like this smorgasbord of just, man, what are you type of thing in terms of just questions I've been asked like throughout my life, and it's like so. And I don't know what the desire is for people to like know, what are you mixed with, type of deal, but.
Cause you can't dance, you can't bachata, you ain't salsa.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm gonna look caramel, but so I don't know. So maybe people just don't, view me like they would if I was like, darker skin pigment or what have you. But I never really experienced anything, and honestly, even outside of that, I just haven't. I mean.
So her family like you is what you're saying?
I mean, they love me,
Oh my God, Sierra!
Day one.
We don't get it. We done with Sean. Sierra, tell us about Kevin. How's his family been receptive to you? How has been your family been receptive to Kevin's family? Vice versa.
Well, they were obviously not surprised because I was not the first black girl he brought home.
Okay.
He only dated, as far as like girls that were serious enough to bring home, he only dated girls of color. So Spanish.
It was on a cancer site.
Hold on, Katie. Katie, we can hear you. Go ahead, Sierra.
So his high school was like he was the minority. Like white people were the minority when he went to high school.
Gotcha.
So that was just what he was immersed in. That was what he was attracted to. So they were not surprised at all. I wouldn't say my family was surprised because all of my cousins at that time, most of them at that time, were all not by design, but were dating outside of their race. Like I have a cousin, his husband is white. I have another cousin, her first husband was white. So they had experiences with other family members bringing home someone of a different race before we actually introduced Kevin to the family.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't a shock. However, they took really easy to him. He fits in really well. Obviously you've met him a lot. So,
that's a man.
He's very quiet. He's very reserved. But he obviously he can kind of fit in with any type of crowd. And there wasn't and has never been any type of backlash, pushback regarding our relationship, especially from his family side. Like I never had to experience that with them. We only had I don't even know if I want to call it an issue, because I wasn't really involved in it, but they had a difference of opinion when it came to a political issue dealing with Donald Trump at the time, and he just kind of had to snap and be like, you guys need to understand, your granddaughter who you love
right
is not viewed the same in this way. I understand that you guys just see her and she's your grandbaby, but you guys need to understand that she is not a separate entity from the other black people that you see in the world. So that's still, you know what I'm saying? You still have to, you can't disassociate her from that. So any views that you have to include, your family is black is literally what he told them.
Right.
Your family that you love is black. So you guys have to keep that in mind when you guys are expressing these opinions. And since then, never had it.
Wonderful. I love it. Katie, what about you and your relationship? How's your family accepting? Are they accepting?
Y'all are very blessed, is all I can say.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I
My family was complete opposite in that my family was always accepting of black people and loved black people. One of my best friends growing up, he went to high school with Rhonda and I. He lived in our home all the time. But the minute that I decided to incorporate that as my man and into my life, I met him, the whole world turned upside down.
Your current boyfriend right now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh wow. So
they
go ahead.
They were like, we don't want you to have mixed children. We don't want you to, you're going to grow up with more, you're going to have difficulties in your life. And, pretty much were completely against it. I ultimately didn't end up speaking to my parents for years, like 6 or 7 years due to it.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Oh no.
So it was a crazy situation for sure, where I had to choose what I felt was right over, a relationship with them.
And what about his family?
Oh, his family was accepting. Yeah, his family, they didn't care. He has other family members within his family who have dated outside their race. So it was something that was accepted, and, they had already experienced some of those, things that could create different aspects within a relationship. And so they were, already acclimated to that.
Wow.
Hey, I got a question. Your parents, do you have because you mentioned there was a decent gap of time where you guys weren't on speaking terms or whatever. How does that look now? Is it in the same spot, or have you guys kind of come to resolution on that relationship, or how does that look?
So, not to sound extremely religious, but I actually heard a speaker at the church I was attending at one time on forgiveness, and it really hit me that it was necessary that I would forgive them, even though they would never take ownership of the things that they had said and done that created the hardship.
Jesus.
Right.
And so I chose to call my mom and say, can I meet with you? And it was like, I forgive you for the things that you have said and done, because I have to release that weight off of my life. I don't need to own that and walk with that forever. And so there's never been ownership in any part, but we do come around the family, and, we are, more active in being around and things like that. But quite often he chooses to not come around due to some of those, first, lack of ownership, but two, just the environment that it can create at times.
I mean, knowing that you were talked about like that, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to sit in an environment where you're not wanted, or the mentality behind your presentation just being in that house is probably them thinking you're toxic, or, oh my God, our babies. They're looking at you a certain way because they already believe that they don't want biracial children, and you're going to struggle in life. So it's, and that goes with what I was going to ask about what influence do personal beliefs or culture have over interracial relationships. And what you just said is exactly a bias and a personal belief that they have because he's African American. You're going to struggle in life and all this while you with him, you having biracial kids. And yet we're looking at Sierra on the screen, who has accepting family on both sides and who's not struggling in life and everything is good. So for them to have that bias, that idea, that judgment that they're putting on. And then Nick said earlier, as I'm listening, I'm tying everything together, and Nick said earlier, it's that privilege that you're not aware of, or either you fail to even attempt to be aware of because you have a lack of empathy or lack of care for anything else.
Absolutely.
So, so that was my next. What influence do personal beliefs have? That's just one. Does anybody have another anything else to say about that? What influence do personal beliefs or culture have over interracial relationships? If not, we can move on because I mean that was a personal. That was literally a perfect example right there. Ooh.
Yeah, it's kind of rough, and I'll just speak generally, but like, I mean, you sometimes you don't even know how people feel until you put yourself in a situation, and then come to find out, how could you date another race or whatever. I mean, it's not you don't even view them or realize that until you're in a position where you're exposed to it, and then you see people for maybe come to understand how people really feel. I mean, it's so sometimes you don't even know until you're in the situation, which is which is crazy.
It's very interesting when you see people that put on for like, we like, I can't remember her name, but her family was like, we love black people, like he's great, he's your best friend. But then when you really put something in her face, like, yo, this is like, I'm dating him, like, then you're like, oh, this is what it really is. And I've had the same thing with like my dad raised us. My dad was a hippie, and my mom was a little more straight laced, but my dad was a hippie, so he was like, everyone, doesn't matter who it is, you're just like, you're a person. Not that there's no color in the world, but like my dad was like, he's a hippie or whatever. So like just be inclusive of everyone. So like, I would have friends that were gay, and then you hang out with your other friends, and you bring your friends together, and then these friends are like, yo, like, why are we hanging out with this person? And it's like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Right.
Why what do you mean? Like, you're cool, right? You're all right with that? And then they're like, yeah, but like, they're not, because it's in front of their face now. That is,
and you put them on the spot.
Like, when you're putting the door, like, you like open and look behind the curtains, and it's like, yo, this is how they really feel. That's super interesting. And it happens a lot within like dating and just any kind of time that you mix different kind of people together. It's really
it really comes out when you put them, and then you really expose them. You really expose them, and then that becomes a message to you, like, do you really want to be around this person? So this is how this person is. But like you just said, when you ask your friend, like, I mean, what you mean? There's a problem in society where people are not checking one another. They're not checking their family members. They're not saying, hey man, that's wrong, and they just sitting there and they're allowing it, when in the back of their mind they're like, man. But the moment something happens that's not related to that, it's like, oh, okay, they struggling with this situation over here, but it's gonna be that person that you don't like that come and saves you. You're so worried and focused on this one aspect of their life that you're judging, or you just feel like it's not appropriate or doesn't fit you, and you don't even know why. It's because you're listening to other people around you, you know, and then something happens to you and you feel upset because people lack empathy for what you're going through. But you're picking and choosing what you feel should have emotions behind it. And people do that all the time.
It happens a lot with mental health. Where people are like, oh yeah, like depression's a real thing, but as soon as like somebody's like lazy or sad or doesn't want to do anything, they're like, come on, what the fuck? Like, let's go. And like, no, this person's depressed. They don't want to do that. Like, it happens a lot with mental health. It's like when people really like get something put in their face that they're not used to, and you see how they react, it's very interesting.
Children, when people have children who are born with disabilities. You know, they see these disabilities and they make fun of this stuff or whatever, and then it happens to them and they're like, oh my God. And now it's like, what do they say? What do people say when they go through a situation? They're like, man, I ain't never think it would happen to me.
Never say never.
And now they feeling all, and they be like, man, I used to talk about this and I used to do that. I used to, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's like,
it's a lot easier to post something on social media and Instagram, but like when it really like brass tacks comes and you have to support a marginalized group of people like that you're supporting online, and you just fail to show up. I feel like that happens more than not. Everybody's quick to put up like a free Palestine, but like they'll when
it come time to do that work, there's a lack of work being put in.
Yeah. Boots are not on the ground.
Come on, you know what to say.
I want to piggyback off what Nick said.
Go
When
ahead.
you put something in somebody's face, you see how they really react. Like I've never dated outside my race or anything like that, but I did have an experience when I was a child. I had this white girl live across the street from me, and one of my family members, like we would play and everything. She would wait for me to. She was homeschooled, so she would wait for me to come finish school, and she would sit outside my house. And so I remember one time she was waiting and we were playing, and one of my family members was like, "Oh, she was in the house," and somebody in my family was like, "That white girl needs to get out of our house." And I'm like, and I'm a child, and I'm like, what? But we one of my uncles is married to a white woman, so I'm like, where is this coming from? You know? And I like you, Nick, like your dad loved everybody. Like I love everybody. I don't have a problem with anybody depending on their race or whatever. So it just really shocked me, like. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is how you really feel. Yeah. You know, I've been playing with this girl for forever. So show me how you really feel. So yeah, until you put it in their face, people show their real colors. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you, and I can say I would have never dreamed that would have been the reaction that I received from my parents when I say that, you know, one of my best friends legitimately, he had knee surgery because he got injured in high school wrestling, and my mom had him live with us to the point that he slept in my room for like 5 months while he recovered from knee surgery. I just never dreamed that would even be an option in my world, that I would be rejected in that way. But until I think it truly permeated into, you know, their lives in a different way that they could no longer control, it then became a problem.
You know, I remember staying at Katie's house one time. I mean, Katie was cool with and I'm 2 years behind Katie. And I mean, it was just normal. You know what I'm saying? So to hear this, you know, this is years ago that I stayed at her house. I'm, about 16 years? She's probably a senior and I'm a sophomore. And to hear this is when it comes out in those moments, and you like, I wouldn't mess with you because of what you're doing. I don't care how much Rhonda, nah, because you're not pure. You're not all in. You want to say, oh, we love black people. Oh yeah, our kids have friends, but when it really hit, where you should really be focused on if someone loves somebody, how they're being treated and everything. You're focused on the stigmatism that this is how you really feel about us while we stand at your house. We broke, you know, we gonna struggle later on in life. All these things that oh no, ma'am, it ain't that type of party, ma'am and sir, parents, it ain't that. Nah, we got genius too, you know. Yep. Andrew Crow says, you know what he always says. The New Manufacturing Renaissance, he says, genius is equally distributed, opportunity is not.
Absolutely.
You know, so for you to have that thought process behind you, you know, your daughter might be with a scientist and she just ain't told you what he did or what he do, because that doesn't matter. Yeah. She loves him and he's here for her. It's like Sean, like Sierra, Nick, whoever you love is just whoever you love. So yeah, boy, I tell you, we talking about it today. Let's bring in biracial children. Do you and we have a couple of them on the episode. Two goof troops here. Nick and Sean. Yeah, the studio audience heard that, y'all. They heard that. They didn't believe me. Two goof troops, ladies and gentlemen. All right.
You're a gosh.
What was that Goof Troop song? Power Line or what was it?
Nick, Sean. Hey, I bet Sean knows.
Together. That song was fire.
See that? Look here. Hey,
that's his favorite movie.
Hey, we got to have a good time on the Angels Online. We talk about serious topics, right? And just to remind the listeners that we focus on personal experience, professional experience, and professional knowledge. Right now, we're getting a lot of personal experience, which is necessary for these kids to hear, or for young people in general and adults. You know, because we connect youth and adults in open dialogue. There are adults who have not addressed their issues and their problems, and their problem is what we're talking about right now that Katie's having a problem with. You know, these adults are still having problems. So therefore, it leads, this is what they're teaching their children. So our job is to teach the youth also that, hey, it's okay. because they're struggling right now. Because what if they have a parent like Katie's parents who's saying this and that, and now they're scared to love?
You could do a whole episode on that.
You know what? It's
on
coming.
Katie's situation.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, there's especially in a city like St. Louis.
Come on, man.
There's probably so
Very,
many
very
situations.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whew. My next question: do you think biracial children face any stigma from society? How does their parents' relationship affect them? And it's kind of like what I just said: how parents don't realize how they affect their children. Now we're gonna go. I'm gonna go with Sean real quick. And Sean, don't talk for 10 minutes, bro, because, you know, we going to have another episode for your dirty behind. Anyway, since you're biracial, Sean, a biracial male, did you face any stigma from society?
I mean, I
went to college in Springfield, Missouri. You absolutely did.
Good people.
Well, I
good
mean,
people.
my upbringing, when you're a kid, you don't really view stuff like that. But so, like, I mean, I got bullied really bad when I was at Parkway South middle and 7th grade, and there did seem to be like a black-white type of contingent or whatever. But I don't know if it was really mixed, like, hey, pick a side type of thing, or if I was just maybe an easy target or whatever. But so I can't really attribute that experience to necessarily race. And I got to tell you, like, I just haven't seen it. And I don't know if that's just people kind of being reserved and not exposing that to me along the way, or if it's just, I'm just so friendly with everybody. Like, my whole view is like, hey, I don't know what people's upbringings are. I don't know what they've gone through and what biases or prejudices or whatever they might have. But man, I'm gonna treat everybody well. Everyone's a friend to me. Until I guess you show me, something that's kind of aggressive back to me because of something I can't control, like my skin pigment or something. So I don't know if that like
pizza
combats.
Nick said or a piece of pizza. Well, no.
Right. Right. I'll slap a piece of slice off somebody's hand. But that's an inside story for another day. But I don't know. I think I just don't have that experience. I mean, I've gotten called the N-word before by some country bumpkins and out in Springfield one time. But
you ain't heard the other 10 times, but okay.
I don't know if it's just because I'm so open and just friendly with folks that almost like combats the maybe the bias that someone might have of like, oh, here comes one of them. I just don't know. I mean, I just try to treat everybody, well, and like we about to be best friends at the end of this thing.
You ain't got no more best friends. Stop lying. You ain't got no more best friends coming, bro. Sit down.
I mean, not best friends,
Sit
but
down.
you just treat people nice, man. I mean, I just can't. I just don't have anything to say in terms of like hardships because I was biracial growing up in this world. I haven't encountered it, and maybe I'm one of the fortunate ones.
Well,
I don't know.
Let me get this.
Well, Nick just said.
Let me get this.
Yeah, cause go ahead, Nick. Cause Nick transferred. Go ahead, Nick. Talk to us, Nick.
I left Springfield, Missouri because I was tired of going out and hearing my black friends being called the N-word. And not that I couldn't help the situation, but it was just I felt like it was a real deal issue down there. But beyond that, when I was younger, I was probably 6 or 7, maybe 8. One of the parents on my team, on my baseball team, I was walking to the concession stand, and she asked me if I was adopted.
Oh, wow.
And what?
Even when I was that young, I understood exactly what she meant by that. You don't look like your parents. You don't look like one of them. She asked my sister the same question. And when I tell you my mom was on her ass so quick.
Come on.
It's not that like my parents are like preparing me for this kind of thing. My dad just was straight up with all that stuff. Made me very aware of what it is and what it was. he had to do the same thing. They were one of the first black families in Webster, in a very good neighborhood.
Right.
So he just told me all his experiences and let me go through life, and I would bounce ideas off him, and he would say, okay, well, I have this. But my mom they were also on the same tip. They were together in everything. It wasn't, as far as anything racial, they had a plan.
Come on.
They prepared me and my sister for what it was. And and it wasn't like they were like pointing their finger telling me. It was just life stuff, just every day.
Right.
Or just like in conversation, just like generalizing. They just prepared us for this stuff. And that time at that concession stand, as soon as she asked me if I was adopted, I knew exactly what she was trying to get at. I knew exactly what she meant.
Because you were already taught this. You were already trained for it. You were prepared for it.
Yeah. And so, like, there's shitty things like that happen. Sorry for cursing.
Yeah, come on, talk to us.
But there's also, like, great things that happen.
Come on.
Like, you can be learning experiences for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why you're here right now.
Yeah, you can be learning experiences. You can put people on.
Sierra and Kevin they get Elijah ready. That little baby, that little princess that was sitting in the camera, she's gonna know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, just like he told his family, let his family know. Like, nah, she's part of this family, so you need to watch what you say. Because think about her, because she's part of that group that you're trying to generalize. And
like the other aspect of having like friends of every ethnicity and every color and every creed, you'll learn, like, your friends that really aren't about things or that are ignorant will show their colors. There's been plenty of times where I've had conversations with people and they've said some off things, like some racist things, but like, you do know that, like, you're very aware that I'm half black, and that is very offensive. And just because I am a little less melanated than you're comfortable with, don't say that shit to me. Because I'm automatically gonna, we're done.
Right.
You said some ignorant stuff. Like, I can try to talk to you about it, but like, what good is it going to do? Because that's how you think.
That's how you feel.
That's another one of those things of like putting it in front of your face and seeing how you really feel about it.
Yep.
Because people can say things and be like, "Oh, this is my friend. I got a black friend. This is my black friend."
Oh yeah.
No.
Oh yeah.
Don't ever say that.
What does that mean?
I can't stand it. I'm your friend, bruh.
Yeah.
That's it. What you mean?
And also the same thing goes like, "This is my white boy. This is my white friend." Like, don't know. Like, it's shit's offensive.
Yeah.
I can't stand it. Wait, what you reminding people for?
Yeah.
We see him.
Yeah. You don't.
see her.
There are no passes. Those don't exist.
Hey.
The N-word card pass, that's not a thing. Don't jump stupid and say it.
Like, yeah. I love that. Sierra.
I sound way more negative than Sean. Sean, you're insane. I'm not.
Sierra, I mean, you know what? You're the type, because she's so little, she's so young, you know, because the question was, how do you think biracial children face any stigma from society, and how does their parents' relationship affect them? How do you think you and Kevin's relationship, I mean, I believe, but we're not talking about what I believe because I'm on a personal level with you, but your relationship, how it affects how her life is, and, you know, go ahead. I'm not going to speak for you because, I mean, shoot, her parties she diverse. Go ahead.
We've tried to be very cognizant of the language we use. We're very deliberate with the language that we use. We're very expressive in the fact that she understands, like, you know, what color mommy is and what color daddy is. And she understands that, you know, her family is a blended family of, you know, by definition of all different types, whether it be by color or whether it be by the way the family was built. So even at 5, she's always been very aware of that. So it's not necessarily like coming from a place of like, you know, my parents don't match. It's more so, you know, this day and age, you know, when she goes to school, she's going to have friends where, you know, she's going to have a friend where they have 2 mommies or 2 daddies. So I think that she's growing up in a day and age where like her parents not matching isn't going to be that, I'm not going to say that big of a deal, but it's going to be a lot easier for her to like walk through life that aspect.
I feel it is because times have changed. I believe it is.
Yeah, times are a little bit different. So it's not really a thing to teach or for her to understand. It's just something she's living through. which is a lot different than when we grew up.
Right.
So it's not really a teaching thing. It's just something that she lives with through life. So like whenever she comes to us and she's like, hey, my friend so-and-so has 2 mommies, it's not a thing that we need to explain, because it's something that she's going to have, going to experience the rest of life. And that's not something that we necessarily experience in our face growing up. So we're just very deliberate, like I said, in the language that we use. We don't try to really sugarcoat anything, but we do try to do everything from a span of teaching her.
Right.
And we've done a lot of adjustments as well in our lives with the other people that we allow to be in her life and our friendships. A lot of that has changed and has looked different over the years. We had an experience with a friend during the George Floyd murder, where we found out very much firsthand, like Nick was saying, where we realized that we were that black friend.
Yep.
And even me having to have that conversation, I literally had to say to her, like, my daughter calls you aunt. Like,
Yep.
You were in the room holding one of my legs up when I pushed her out.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to hear I don't see color. You have to look at me and see that I'm black. You have to look at my daughter and know that, like, this is affecting just for, tolerance is really dangerous in that way. It's like, you tolerate me, but you don't tolerate, the rest of the world. So it got really dangerous, and we have to operate from a place of safety.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what became a really big thing for us. We had to sit down and have a conversation, me and Kevin, and it was, okay, she's expressed that this is how she feels. It's in her face now. And this is how she feels. So what are we going to do about it from a safety standpoint? Because we don't ever want to be in a situation where we're all out together and we have to worry. If something pops off, we got to worry about who's actually going to help protect us.
That's right. There you go.
And that's kind of where it got to be. And that's not to say, like, I need for my white friends to save me, but at the same time, I need to know who's down.
Come on, you know what to say.
You need validation.
Like, I need to know who's down. Know who's down. Yeah, if we get caught in a situation, we're in a restaurant or whatever, and somebody says the wrong thing, I shouldn't have to stand up and say anything.
Right. Come on, you know what to say.
Whoever I'm with should be able to help take care of that for me. So we just had to operate from a place of safety, and so we're just very cognizant of that in bringing her up. And then, we deal with it. We have an opposite side too. So like, yes, we haven't really had that many struggles relationship wise, but, my mother did marry a white guy, and that's, that's the only father I've ever known. So operating from that space, my father's dead now, but, my aunts are still involved in my life. Mm-hmm. And, that side of my family, they loved me, but my grandmother was not very accepting of that relationship that my father with my mom. So when coming from that aspect, that side of the family, they don't really know her.
Right.
So, she's got Kevin's family who is white, that she is everything to them.
Right.
But then we also have, like, my father's side of the family that they aren't super connected to her. So they have a disassociation and a detachment because she is, half black. So we have spectrums.
All right, y'all. I got one last question because we got about a couple minutes because I got a show after mine. But one last question. Anybody could say something. Nick had to run out. He's got a meeting to attend. What is something that society can learn concerning biracial individuals or interracial couples? What is just one thing that they can learn? Just real quick. Anybody want to say anything? Katie, Sean, what is something that they can learn, that society can learn concerning biracial or interracial couples?
I can definitely say one thing is that as a white woman or a white man, when you choose to step out and date outside of your race, you do have a responsibility, kind of tying back to what I think her name is Sierra just said, is you have to use your privilege. You cannot be that person that accepts any type of comments to be made. When I have had comments made that are out of space by, say, an aunt like we had previously, I had to call her and address her. You have to be willing to have those difficult conversations and be bold.
Yep.
And so that is just an absolute important thing within making those choices to date outside your race, that you're willing to be an ally and you're willing to support anything that comes your way.
Wonderful, wonderful. Sean, anything real quick?
Yeah, I'll just say that I mean, to really drive a change in the mindsets of everybody, like you got, yeah, like that has been said, you gotta be able to have those conversations like with love. You know, no one's attacking anybody, but we gotta, because we're all just like everybody else, man. Everybody has some innate thing within them that desires companionship and loving relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just how we're built. So everyone kind of desires that, and it should be relatively the same kind of across the spectrum of all, whether you choose to different races, different, you know, heterosexual, homosexual, whatever your choices are. We're all trying to find that safe place to just, you know, kind of be happy and love one another. So, but having those conversations to help change what the future is going to look like, so that, because ideally, you know, we'd all be accepting of each other, and there would be no, I guess, controversy or disagreements of things like this. I mean, this is like, you know, obviously it takes years and decades to get to a new place, but I mean, I hope eventually we can get there. We just all got to be open to everyone. I mean, you know, just
Perfect.
love each other. That's all I would say.
There you go. Sierra, do you have something real quick?
I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that, you know, we actually have more things in common than we do different.
Come on.
But it literally just takes us all, like, you know, taking off those glasses of perception, because we've all grown up with it. Doesn't matter what our race is. Even if, you know, your parents are 100%, you know, all in, they have no bias, you still kind of go into the world with whatever it is you learn. Like, if you have an experience, like she said, you know, growing up, you know, it might not change how you feel towards white people, but you always remember that. You always remember that somebody else might feel that way. So I think the biggest thing is just, you know, kind of operating from a place of, like, you know, trying to take those blinders off, because you never know what you're going to miss out on. And that could be referring to, you know, relationships, friendships. You know, some of the best friendships in my life are, you know, from different races.
Come on, girl. Woo!
But if you have that, if you're in that bubble and, you know, you're not willing to kind of take those blinders off and kind of see somebody for what their heart is and not their color, then, you know, you're missing out on a whole lot of life. So
my goodness, I just say lead with love, lead with gratitude. You got to get the people what they want. Now, before we end this, ladies and gentlemen, everybody got to give me a good people. We're gonna start with Sierra. Can I get a good people?
Good people.
Katie, can I get a good people?
Good people.
Kaylee, can I get a good people?
Good people.
Sean, you know what to say.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I just want y'all to picture me bouncing up and down in my chair, because you know how Rhonda like to do. Good people. You got to give the people what they want.
Well, you know what I'm gonna leave you with, baby. Good people. You got to get the people what they want. Ladies and gentlemen, this is season 3, episode 8. Loving outside the box. One time for the one time.
Good people.
Go people.